Well, it is a little past 9:30 a.m. Eastern time, and I am somewhere in eastern Illinois, so it's 8:30 here. But anyway, been on the road for 5 hours already today, headed to Nebraska to do my first mule deer hunt. Really excited about it. I had planned to do my first western hunt in September, an elk hunt in Colorado, but ended up canceling that trip due to COVID. I mean, mostly out of precaution, but anyway, just didn't feel like it's a good time for me to take off at that time, and stayed home, didn't do the trip, and started looking for some other western options, some over-the-counter options, and found that Nebraska has a late season mule deer muzzleloader and archery option over the counter. That's actually a deer tag, so I can hunt whitetail or mule deer. But anyway, got the muzzleloader and headed out to Nebraska for my first mule deer and western hunt. I know if you're a western hunter, this is not a western hunt, but for me, from Ohio, this is definitely a western hunt. It's a spot and stalk hunt. Never done it before. Tried to read as much as I can and scout as much as I can online and learn as much as I can, but I think the real learning will happen tomorrow when I get boots on the ground and get out there. But looking forward to it, really excited, and yeah, hopefully getting to some deer early. I don't film my own hunts too awful much, but the kids, they like to watch when I go out of state and see where I'm at and what I'm doing. And did one earlier this year for them when I was in Kentucky, and on a whitetail hunt, but I'm gonna try to self-film again this week, and not real good at that, but we'll see how it goes. So stay tuned and wish me luck. All right, travel day is in the books. Drove for about 18 hours today, and I'm pretty tired. Still made it in plenty of time. Got up early enough and got here in enough time. We'll get plenty of sleep tonight, so I should be able to get up, and planning to be out at sunrise tomorrow, just to start scouting and get out there. It's supposed to be kind of cold. Not super cold, 30s to around 40, but some pretty heavy wind tomorrow, so it'll make it cold, and especially out there. I'm interested to see how that feels out there in those hills, but anyway, yeah, gonna get everything packed up and ready to go for the morning, and going to hit the sack and get some sleep and get started bright and early. Alright, so I didn't get up quite as early as I wanted. I think that 18-hour trip took it out of me a little more than I thought it did. So I slept a little longer. It's 8 o'clock. It's not super late. And I am headed to the trailhead. But just saw about well over 100 antelope. Stopped and got some video, and it was really cool. For me, never seen an antelope like that just out. Outside of a zoo, I guess, so it was really cool. I made it. I don't know what time it is, like 9:30, and I haven't been here. I'm still a couple hundred yards from the truck. The truck is right there. Right up there. And I just had 6 mule deer right up there on top of that hill. 5 does and 1 spike buck. So I'm pretty excited. They were on private. There's a little fence that runs right up that hill. The other side of it's private, so. But they were headed this way, which I mean I can't shoot. Where I'm hunting, I've got a statewide deer tag, so I can shoot a whitetail or a mule deer, but I can't shoot a doe mule deer on this WMA that I'm hunting. I can only shoot bucks with 6-inch antlers or longer. So anyway, got in some deer quick. Hopefully that's a good sign. It's so crazy. I saw those mule deer. They saw me pretty quickly, but it didn't seem real spooked. They weren't that close. Still a couple hundred yards away. I kind of got low, ducked behind a little hill to pull out my camera. I didn't have this camera out yet. I walked back up. I was gonna start filming and they were gone. And they just disappeared. They were headed this direction where I'm at right now. They are nowhere to be seen. It's crazy. Some yucca plants. Like a little kid out here. I got about 8 does, probably half a mile away from me. They may be further than that, but I thought it was just 5 at first. There's a drainage right beside where they're bedded. They're bedded just down out of the wind. I keep finding more, so I'm gonna keep glassing, of course, but I've been watching them. I keep seeing other ones stand up, so hoping maybe a buck will stand up soon. Maybe try to make a move, but man, it's gorgeous out here. It's just cold. The wind is cold. Yeah. Been here for a couple hours. Those does got up and moved on. Nothing else ever stood up with them or chased after them, so I'm gonna move. Try to find another spot to glass from. It's a long way here, but I've been here for a couple hours, and that's all. I haven't turned up any bucks, so I'm gonna try to find a new spot. Just glassed. It had to be the first legal buck I've seen. He doesn't look huge. I'm not being picky. I'm just saying he doesn't look like a big mature buck, but that buck just put his head down, went to sleep. He was looking away from me anyway the whole time, but he looks like he's a decent buck. So I'm going to try to close some distance. I think I've got a good approach up that hill with some cover and those drainages. So I'll try to put a stalk on him while he's bedded. Just pick his head up again. I wish I could get a better view of his antlers. He's just so far right now, and with those weeds behind him, it's hard to tell. But he may be. Antlers just almost look like the main beams of a whitetail. closer and see what I can see. Alright, I was just up over this knoll right here, this hill. Last thing I dropped down below here, that buck is right there. Above there, he just dropped behind. I just dropped down where he can't see me right now, so I've got to walk down and
was a long 100 yards, strong wind, and I don't even know that I hit him. And he just stood there forever, 10, 15 minutes, and I didn't have a good, he was right over the skyline, or right over the ridge, and I couldn't take the shot, so I waited and waited, and he never moved. So I just started inching forward, climbing up as much as I can, a few inches at a time. Finally got his body below the skyline, and it was about the same distance. And I hit him, I drilled him, and he just came right up over. He was just right over top of this right here, and just walked over and stood right there. He's just right down there. I'm going, oh yes. Oh good. I'm gonna go get my pack. I'm gonna go look for him. Yes. Spotted him from way back. I glassed him from back here. Up on there, and I came down into the bottom. I came up this drainage right here. And I got to about here and I started crawling on my knees. I spotted him here. Of course, this is one of the steepest parts of the canyon. I would have let him die up there on top in that sunlight. He's not a huge mature muley, but daggone it, I'm happy. I am happy. Wow. Man, what an experience. This place is gorgeous. This was just so cool. Such a different hunt. Oh man. It's, gosh, just a beautiful deer. I mean, he's not that mature buck that you see guys on the internet go out and kill. And they probably would, a lot of guys would have passed on this, but this was my first hunt out here. I got up close. I couldn't tell at first because he was so far. It was about 750 yards from where I glassed him from, and all I could really see was this main beam. I couldn't tell if this forked off here, if this was a mule deer beam, or if this was another, just one whitetail sticking off like a whitetail does. And I got closer, I could tell what he was, and he was, I wasn't going to take anything legal, but I saw him and I said, that's good enough for me. I am not at all disappointed. What a beautiful deer. Oh man. I went all day. I saw 6 deer as soon as I got here, 200 yards from the truck. 5 does and a spike. And they saw me they just stared at me though. They didn't really spook them. I don't even know if they knew what I was, but they took off. I never saw them again. I glassed for a while this morning, didn't see anything, moved to a new spot, and picked up what I thought was 5 does, ended up being 8. As they started getting up, they walked off, waited to see if a buck ever got up, nothing ever did. But I saw them go over into the next, I guess you call it a canyon or bottom, so I thought, well, I'll go over there. If they're going over there, then maybe there's some bucks over there. You know, there are other deer headed that way probably too. So I followed them over. I actually saw them again, and they saw me, but they were headed the opposite direction from where I was sitting down anyway. So I sit down the glass and I spotted him in the first sweep through. A couple minutes I saw him, and I sat there for probably an hour though, kept glassing, looking for other bucks. Didn't see anything, couldn't tell, like I said, if he was a mule deer or a whitetail, but then he finally started moving, and I was pretty sure he was, so I decided I was going to cut the distance just to see what he was, to make sure, and told myself I could tell the rack was decent size, and I told myself if that's a mule deer, I'm going to take him. And it's getting late, it's beautiful out here, but I don't want it to get too dark and too cold, so I'm going to get to work.
All right, it's 7 o'clock and it's 3 hours since time to kill. I got it all quartered out, cleaned and packed. I'm gonna try to do this in one hike because I am like 5 miles from the truck. I don't have to do it twice. So here we go. Well, I was wrong on about 2 things. Number 1, it was only 4 miles, not 5. And number 2, there's no way I was doing that long trip. I made a maybe made it like 30 yards. I was like, there's no way. So I brought back half the meat and the rack and skull, and I hated to do it. I mean, sometimes you just have to. The bad thing about it here is there's no way to hang it. Back home, you can hang it in a tree. But so hopefully it makes it through the night. I'll be back in the morning, first thing. All right, headed in for that last bit of meat. I had to leave last night. I hated to do that. I mean, I've done it obviously with whitetails. Sometimes you shoot one late and you gotta back out or something, and you gotta leave it to the next morning. There's always that risk, and you gotta do that stuff sometimes. It's the furthest I've ever shot an animal from the truck, so I was exhausted last night. There was no way I could go back and get that meat. So hopefully nothing's gotten into it. Wish there was somewhere I could have tied it up, hung it somewhere, but anyway, headed in, 8-mile hike, round trip, so should be a lot lighter load though. No firearm or none of my hunting gear, anything like that in the pack. Pretty empty pack, just food and water, so hopefully it'll be a little quicker, a little easier hike out this time, so here we go. All right, a little lesson. I am obviously an Easterner. I had never seen one of these on a gate before, but I'd opened one multiple times yesterday, and when I got out at the truck, you have to open one just at the trailhead, and something I should have known from common sense. Just a heads up, when you pull this lever over to open this up, hang on to it or get your hand out of the way, because I left my hand where it shouldn't have been and that thing came over. I thought I broke my hand and it hurt. It's alright now, but first I really thought I broke my hand. So anyway, just a quick tip if you're like me and not as familiar with these things. Well, this is what I meant by where the buck was bedded. He was bedded right over here on this hill, and it's one of the highest hills, around. And the wind was really straight, like 20-30 mile an hour winds with like 50 to 60 mile per hour gusts. And so I was looking on the leeward side, and drainage is pretty hard, but couldn't turn anything up. But he ended up being right there, and he can just see. He can just see forever. I was right back over there on that hill. He couldn't, obviously where he was, he couldn't see all this back here, but he was right there and he was facing that way. And I realized after I turned him, when I first got to him, I couldn't see his back because he had rolled over. And that first shot, I actually hit him, but I hit him high, and he was where he was on the hillside and kind of rolled into the hillside. I missed his spine. It clipped I lost part of the back strap, but just shot high. But maybe it's the wind, or maybe it's just me nervous with nerves. But anyway, second shot did him in. He went literally, he went from right over there, just right across this little escape route he had right here, which is where he was headed anyway, and he just walked right over and just laid down. Well, that's it. I'm gonna get this meat packed out. Thought I had a little better spot to be in the shade this morning, but still got frost on it, so that's a good sign. Nothing's been in it. Get this thing packed out of here and tagged out Nebraska. All right.